Welcome to the Jets UK podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andres Groves. I'm joined by my co-host, David Wyatt-Hupton. The Jets are coming to London. It was announced yesterday during the schedule release that we're going to get our team coming to Tottenham Stadium to face the Falcons. It's a great time. David, great time, eh?
I'm so excited about it. I mean, we're 1-0 in London anyway, so we're about to go 2-0 in London. So let's go. It's a great opportunity to go and see the Jets.
It's absolutely. I mean, we saw that the Falcons were going to host the game. We knew that a few weeks ago, and then we knew that we were one of their away opponents. So the chances were pretty good. You know, there was probably a 1 in 5 chance that we would get the selection. But when it finally came through, it was just a great moment to be able to, you know, my 8-year-old now is jumping up and down. When I picked him up from school yesterday, he was so excited. So it's going to be a really fun time, and he's going to absolutely love it. Because last time he was only a little one when they came for the Miami game. So he was at home, and now he's really become a Jets fan now. So he's super excited. So I'm super. October 10th cannot come quick enough. But this whole season is just the excitement for this season is just building. It really is. So how do you feel about things? Have the schedules come out? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about the schedule. I mean, I think, you know, me and you were speaking. It was like there's no kind of really tough run-ins where you kind of like, I can't see a win in there.
No.
So that's good. I mean, the bye week's a little bit earlier than I prefer because you know, obviously you have to have it after the London game, so the bye week's going to be week 6.
Funny enough, you don't need to actually. You don't. Apparently, you can defer it. Apparently,
has anyone ever done that?
I think the Colts did it once. I've only one team had done it. I think it was the Colts, I believe. Don't quote me on that one, but it's one team has taken it up. Only one team has taken it up. But it's normal practice, obviously, because you're flying back, and I think in this year it works pretty well because you get 5 games, you finish off with London, you get a bye, and then if there's anything you need to reset with Zach, you know, being a rookie, it might be good to kind of, you know, give him that week to kind of like recap the last 5 weeks. We've had a few important games to kick off the season. Obviously, the big emotional one with Sam to kick off the season. We're going to Carolina. Then we host the Patriots. So the Patriots game, you know, a game's away. Over at the West Coast to fly over to Mile High. That's obviously with the altitude as well. So there's a bit of everything involved in that first, and obviously the London game, right? So there's a bit of everything in that first 5 weeks. And then you kind of, if there's anything you need to work out for the rest of the season, you can kind of work on him. So while I would like a later bye generally, I think it kind of works for us okay this year with Zach and being the rookie.
Yeah, I think the thing is you never really know, do you? So, you know, we could fly for those first 5 weeks and not have any issues, and not have any injuries, and then pick up tons of injuries towards the end of the season, and then we're like, oh, we should have the bye. Or we could start off and have a couple of injuries early on in week 4, week 5, and then go, God, it's really helpful that we've got this bye here. So kind of my first instinct is always that I want it later just because there's more chance of you picking up injuries through the season. But you can't really tell until it happens. So, you know, I've got no issues with it. It's not super early. Week 6 is fine. It's just really exciting. I mean, that Carolina game, and the NFL's got a sense of humour, haven't they? Like they wanted that Carolina game up there front and centre.
I mean, it was obvious, right? It was going to be one of two things, and it was either going to be the Jags coming to the Jets, right? And then then we found out that the Giants were going to be hosting that game, so we thought, well, okay, we'll be away. And then you thought, okay, well, it's going to be the Panthers away, isn't it? And it was, you know, they definitely wanted to do that.
It's going to be entertaining to watch. I kind of tweeted yesterday just saying, you know, there's going to be so much overreaction to that game, so many storylines, so many hypes, so many, like, that game's not going to define either career for Sam in Carolina or for Zach in New York, but that won't stop the media from building it up into the greatest show on earth. So we've got 4 months to look forward to that, and it is an annoying
one to like have as the lead game because the narratives and all that's going to build into it. Like if it was just the week after, you would only have a week worth of narratives going into it. So that's a bit of a shame, but I think it'll be a really fun game to start off, and obviously we kind of get the Sam stuff out the way, right? And it just, you know, then we can concentrate on the rest of the season. But
unless he has a good game, and then we're going to have the Sam stuff for the rest of the season. Yeah, you know, if Sam Darnold throws, you know, 300 yards and a couple of touchdowns, and Zach really struggles, despite him being a rookie, that logic is going to go out the window because people will just see that as we made a mistake.
I can't really deal with these people. If they're going to have that logic, it's going to be what it is. You can't have, you know, Sam Darnold for all his warts, he's had 37 games, 38 games already. Zach's playing his first game, so there has to be some. Look what happened on Sam's first game, pick six, first ever throw. So a rookie's going to make mistakes, and you have to understand that we're in a different place. Sam is about the ceiling, right, of what we can get in the next couple of years, not just this year, alone. So
yeah, and the fans don't necessarily bother me too much because most fans are really on board now. I think we've seen that shift, haven't we? After Zach was the pick, I've kind of seen reduction in that those arguments and those disagreements and things like that. It's kind of settled down a little bit, which is quite nice. I think it's the media that will do it. It's the New York media that will stir it up if Darnold has a good game and Sam has a bad one. Yeah. Because they're the first guys who take the negative narrative and just run with it. So, as long as we won't be affected by it too much, but I think people who pay close attention to those guys, they may be more affected than we are.
Yeah, it's going to be a situation where we're going to be counter a lot of the Jets people, the Jets Twitter people who kind of see things in a bit more of a holistic viewpoint are going to try to be combating the kind of general basic thoughts about, if Sam has a good start and Zach struggles, then we made the wrong choice. When you've got to look at it as the whole season. You've got to look at it as the next couple of years, not just 1 year, and how the ramifications of the salary cap, the ramifications of just everything. It's just one of the things you've got to kind of combat, obviously, when you're, especially now that we're doing the podcast, we're kind of a voice out there combating it. So it is what it is. And but the rest of the season, I really do like this schedule. As I was saying to you before we started, I like when you look at it, we've got some difficult games, obviously, peppered throughout. But I do think there's some easier games on paper that could give us a bit of a respite between us. We haven't got any kind of murderer's row of any really hard teams that we've had the last few years, where it really puts us in a hole. So hopefully we could get into a decent start where we win a couple, maybe lose a couple, but we're not in the hole too much, and we continue kind of being in contention throughout the year. That would be pretty fun. I think that's all we can really hope for. And
I think it's probably key just to note that we've got 9 home games and really only 7 road games, because the Falcons game is a road game, but it's in a neutral venue, so they're not going to have as much of a home field advantage as they usually would if you were playing in Atlanta. Yeah. So that works really well for us. I think there's a few quips to the schedule, but I think overall it's quite a good one for the Jets. And I don't get too excited about the schedule when it gets released, but only because you kind of already know the teams, and I think it got leaked yesterday afternoon, didn't it? I think we saw it. You sent it to me at kind of like 4 o'clock or something like that. So it wasn't quite the anticipation we were expecting, because we'd already found out about the Carolina game and then the London game, and then the whole schedule just got leaked. But it's good. It's good to book out those time slots, I guess. I mean, a lot of them are 1 p.m. as well, which is good for us UK audience.
It's fantastic. It is.
That's 6 p.m. our time, isn't it? So
I mean, normally, actually, before becoming a dad, especially when watching it with my son, I would say actually I prefer the later games, because you kind of get all the family stuff out of the way, or kind of meeting. You may go visit family, and you get back for 6 o'clock. But now with him in school the next day, with most of these Sundays, is actually nice, because it will wrap up just before, it'll be a bit late bedtime, but still we can manage it, So most of these games, I think all of the games except for one kind of Sunday game, right? Like one of the normal Sundays, I think the Denver games is a 4:05. The rest of them are 1 o'clock, other than the London game, and then we also have that Thursday night game. But in week 9?
Week 9.
Yeah, against
week
the
9
Colts.
Against Indianapolis.
So
I'm surprised
I
they didn't put us against the Jags on prime time.
You would have thought that would have been a clear kind of a Thursday night football would have been a pretty good. And to put it that late is also interesting, because you thought you would want the Jags versus the Jets early, because even though they're exciting potential, there's excitement between both teams, they're probably not going to be very good. So putting them in the kind of the one of the later weeks is kind of a bit, would probably be both irrelevant potentially by then, and then it ends up being a bit of a kind of all you're doing is making up about the QBs, right? And it could be a bit more about that than if you put it in weeks 1 to 5. You could really have a game of like, oh, this is the hope, right? It's there for both teams. So bit of a surprise. Yeah, I mean, that's not bad to watch it on the 26th. It's funny, I showed the picture with the Jags playing the Dolphins in the UK as well. I showed the they had that kind of illustrated picture of all 4 teams, and I showed, and it had Trevor there, obviously with Zach, and my son said, who's that one with the girl hair? I said, that's Trevor Lawrence. He goes, oh, I don't like Trevor Lawrence then. He's got girl hair. I was like, okay. So there's your educated 8-year-old viewpoint of why we shouldn't like Trevor and why we're really happy to have Zach. So there you go. Looking for any reasons.
As easy as that.
Looking for any reasons at this point. No, but it's definitely. I think if we go through it, like, should we see if we can go through this, really work through this, and see if we have a record by the end of this? Let's just. I know it's a bit of a silliness at this point, but I mean, what do you think? Do you want to go through it? Just quickly whip through it and see if we can kind of put together a rougher prediction of what we could do this year.
Yeah, why not? Let's go for it.
All right.
It means nothing, but let's go for it.
It means nothing because one injury here or there, or one team surprises you. It changes the whole landscape. But I think it's just something a little bit of fun to do while we've got nothing else to talk about or nothing else to do as we get headed towards the off season. So, with the Panthers, Panthers away, Sam Darnold. Do you think that we talked about Sam Darnold? Worst case scenario, Sam Darnold, does well, and then all the narratives. But do you think he actually does? We know. We know his, the issues that he has, and do you think our defensive line and whatnot could cause problems? I think I'm pretty confident about this one actually, that we could. I could see it going either way, but I do think personally, I think we could win this one actually.
Yeah, Carolina's offensive line is a little bit of an issue, and Sam's not going to really want to hear that after what he's been through in New York. But you don't see any players on that offensive line, and you're kind of like, wow, those are top talent, those are top kind of Pro Bowl guys. So I think Carl Lawson and Quinton Williams and Vinny Curry and JFM, they're going to have fun in that game. So I think it depends how well our offensive players gel straight away, because I don't see Carolina putting up a lot of points on us. I don't think that they're going to put up, I don't think Sam's going to have that 300-yard type game. I think he'll put up his 160, a touchdown, 1 interception type performance probably. So it completely depends how Zach Wilson kind of integrates with the offensive system and how we get started, and that's the real kind of mystery at the moment. But I'd put that down as a winnable game. I'm not saying we're definitely going to win it, but it's a winnable game.
Yeah.
So if you're confident, I'm happy to go.
I'm pretty confident that I think we could. I'm confident in agreeing with you that I don't think they'll put up that many points. And I think the defense has got some good players, but it's not a top unit at this point. And I think we could come up with a pretty close victory as in Zach's first game. I think we'll put it as a win for that one. So then Patriots at home. How you feel about obviously it's probably likely going to be Cam Newton with this Patriots unit. I mean, the Pats are the Pats, but they're not really You see their name on the schedule, you always pay attention, but they're not really the team of a few years ago. So with them at home, I potentially like this, but I'm trying not to get too confident about this. But I see that we could probably it can go either way. What's your feelings about the Patriots game?
Yeah, I mean they're not the team that they were, are they? So I don't look at that. It used to be when Tom Brady and that crew were there, you'd look at that game and you're kind of like, I don't want to say it, but we're probably going to lose that game. But that's not the case anymore. I think home opener, a lot of excitement, new coach, new staff, kind of new direction that we're going in. I actually feel more confident about beating the Patriots at home than I do beating the Panthers in Carolina. So
okay,
I would go for let's go for a 2-0 start.
Yeah, 2-0 start. Yeah, do we have to force reality against us? A lot of people actually, as we go to week 3, we'll go with 2-0 there, right? As a lot of people are kind of discounting the Broncos, and I think it's purely because of Drew Lock, right? And I agree with that in terms of Drew Lock, but the rest of the team is pretty good. Like the defense is good, and the skill weapons, they've obviously now got Javonte Williams with Melvin Gordon, and the line's decent, and obviously the offensive weapons, they've got Cortland Sutton coming back, obviously Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and so I think they've got pretty a decent team. I think it's almost like the potentially you could have a situation like Bortles with the Jags, where the QB is the one thing that really they're like a QB away. Truly, like the rest of the team is pretty good. And I think away at Mile High Stadium in Denver, I'm not as confident about this one actually. My prediction is that we would lose this one, lose Tennessee, and go into London at 2-2. But I mean, what's your feelings about the Broncos away and then and Tennessee Titans at home?
Yeah, I think the Broncos are actually going to be a good team this year. I know Drew Lock's not that marquee QB name that you look for, but I also think that he's quite early in his career, and it's quite it's potentially he could be a lot better than he's shown so far. He was drafted in his position for a reason, and I think we need to always kind of give these guys a little bit of time. But obviously, they did get Teddy Bridgewater as well. So if Teddy Bridgewater outperforms him in training camp and really outperforms him,
of course,
he could kind of do what he did in Carolina, and he'll manage that game.
I forgot about Teddy being there. Yeah, that kind of happened just before the draft, right? So it kind of got lost in the muddle. But of course, yeah, him. He's actually somebody who could really get things moving there in terms of being the consistent guy that's not going to throw the game away, but kind of get the ball to the skill players and let them do the work. That could be, he could be a pretty effective guy to be a pretty difficult team, especially away. So that even more pushes me towards that we may not pick up that win on that third week. Personally, so you going towards the losses?
I agree with that. I think going away to Denver, going out to the West Coast, it's quite a difficult. It's a difficult journey, and the quarterback's a big question, but you're absolutely right. The rest of the team is actually a very decent team. Jerry Jeudy's going to be in the second year. I expect him to be much better this year. They just picked up Satan as well, so he's going to be good on the outside with whom am I thinking of? Carl Fuller. They've got people like Darby as well, kind of backing up as well. So they've got a lot of quality. I think that'll be a really difficult game. So I think I would probably put that down as a loss, just for where the Jets are in their rebuild. It's it's a difficult one. So I'd put us at 2-1 after 3 games.
Then Tennessee at home. I think that I don't think they've done a great job in terms of improving, but I think they're still a team that's a playoff team from last year, and I think they're pretty good. I think it'll be a very hard challenge. I think that's going to be a loss. I mean, all these games, I could see potentially that we're 1-3 or we're 3-1. In this situation, either or really. I think any of these games could be flipped, but I think the Tennessee one is the one where I think it's a well coached team, good players. They are missing obviously a few players. Obviously now that we're with the Jets, obviously, and with obviously Corey Davis with the Jets, and obviously with Jonnu Smith moving up to the Patriots, they're missing a few players. So I think it will still be a bit of a tough battle. Do you feel that this is a loss, or do you think maybe we could sneak a win here at home?
I think this is going to be really difficult. I think Tennessee is just one of those really sneaky good teams that a lot of people don't really consider, but they always kind of get the job done. Ryan Tannehill's still there, Derrick Henry's still going to be there, so AJ Brown's still there. It's they've still got tight ends, they've still got line, they've still got a lot of talent on that roster. So I'm kind of with you. I can see, it's not an out and out loss. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that we will win this game. But if I had to bet, I'd probably bet on Tennessee at this point. So I think it's fair for us to, we could be 3-1, 1-3, but so I'm going to split the difference and say we're going to be 2-2 after 4.
Okay, so then after that 2-2 start, we obviously head to London to face the Falcons out. I'm very excited, obviously, to see our guys in front of us, but this Falcons team, in terms of putting up points, is going to really put up points. It's going to be pretty hard to stop. I think we've got some good parts in our defense, but we've got some weaknesses, and I think that's where we could struggle a little bit with this Falcons team, even if their defense isn't fantastic. What do you feel about the Falcons game in London?
Yeah, that's their offensive weapons versus where our defensive kind of secondary is at this point is kind of scary.
Yeah.
We've got some pieces. I like Javelin Guidry. I like Bryce Hall. I like a lot of the other guys, Marcus May. But they're going to be facing Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and now Kyle Pitts as well. And Russell Gage was pretty good last year. So they've always got guys that are going to step up. So I feel like we may get ourselves into a bit of a shootout, and if we do get ourselves into a shootout, then I can only see Atlanta winning that game.
Yeah, you're gonna back Matt Ryan with that one, right? Matt Ryan
with those weapons.
Yeah, with those weapons, the experience he has and the weapons that he has, it's gonna be hard to compete. But I'm not I still see a path to us winning that game. I'm not kind of completely be surprised if we did. When you look at the way things lay out right now as it looks, that's going to be a very difficult game to match up if it does go into a shootout. So that's 2-3 going into the bye, week 7 away at the Patriots. I think this one they probably get revenge and they kind of beat us. I just don't think going into Foxborough. I'm never confident going to Foxborough, no matter how bad the team is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm at a point where I can comfortably say we're going to sweep the Patriots as bad as
No, exactly.
or as much talent as they've lost over the last couple of years. So
yeah,
let's put a pin in that one. Say the Patriots get a little bit of revenge in Foxborough and move on to week 8 against Cincinnati.
So that's 2-4 going into Cincinnati. So then, hosting them, right? Well, when are we hosting Cincinnati? So, I think obviously they've got. Obviously, they've added more weapons to the wide receiver unit, but the line isn't that much improved, right? I mean, they brought in Jackson Carman, right, in the second round. They kind of did that flip. They took the wide receiver first, the lineman second, but you can say maybe you would have gone with the better if you went with Panay Sewell and a Terrace Marshall. Maybe would have been a better combo overall for the team, but. I don't know. It depends on what you feel about Jackson Carman, I guess, really. But I don't know how much they've improved the line. And I don't know if they're going to be a great team. So I think, again, it's another winnable game.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think they didn't do enough for the line. I mean, Jackson Carman's okay. And I don't think he's a bad tackle, but he's certainly not one of the elite prospects in this year's draft. And I think, they didn't then touch the line until picking Trey Hill later on. They picked Trey Hill out of Georgia. And I think they signed Riley Reef, but again, kind of Riley Reef's a pretty good player, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think this is kind of a game that the Jets should expect to win. Obviously, we'll have Carl Lawson going against his former side, so I expect him to be going after Burrow pretty aggressively. And I'd bank on him getting home as well. So I think when you pit offensive lines that aren't the strong point against our defensive line, we have to feel confident about those games, and that's why I feel confident about Carolina. And that's why I feel confident about Cincinnati. So I'd put this down as a win for the Jets.
Okay, so we're 3-4 going into the Thursday night game with the Colts. I think when you look at the team, it's a good team. You got to see where you are with Wentz, but I think with Reich, he'll be pretty good. Team's good on the road Thursday night, short week. I think this is probably a loss, unfortunately. I think it's a bit hard to take a team over with a short week with a rookie QB. I think this is probably going to be a loss against a good team. What's your thoughts about the Colts game?
Yeah, I think like all the other games, I don't think it's a surefire loss. I think that's the best part about this season is I think we're going to be in pretty much every single game. There aren't going to be that many blowouts.
I agree with you. Yeah, I can see us winning any and losing any of these. Yeah,
but Colts on a Thursday, going away to Indianapolis. If it was at home, I think I'd probably favour us for a little bit of a win. But as it's away in Indianapolis on a Thursday, I think I think it's likely to be a loss. I think their running game's good. Let's have a look at how Carson Wentz looks in this system. Offensive line pretty good as well. Got some pieces on the defensive side of the ball as well. So I think Indianapolis is going to be one of those sneaky good teams this year that people don't really kind of expect them to do that well, but they'll surprise a fair few guys. I didn't love their draft. That's the one thing I'll say. Like Kwity Paye was pretty good, but then
after that, I agree with you. Yeah,
Killen Granson a bit too early for me. They took the QB from Texas, Sam Ehlinger as well late on. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit of a underwhelming draft. Let's just say that.
I think so. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah, but they're still a good team.
As a loss. I still put it down as a loss. Yeah.
They're still a good team on a short week and away. So yeah, I would say that's a loss there. So then we host Buffalo at home after that, which is probably the most difficult team we face at this point of the team. And then obviously you got Tampa later on. But yeah, the Bills at home or away is going to be difficult. What's your thoughts of the Bills? We're obviously doing this on a mini bye, I guess. But what's your thoughts about the Bills at home?
Yeah, it's nice to have a few extra days to prepare for the Bills because they're going to be the best team in the AFC East this year.
Yeah.
But I find it hard to kind of pen us in for a victory there. they've improved their pass rush in the draft. They got both Gregory Rousseau and Carlos Basham, so they've addressed one of the areas that they really need to address from last year. Obviously, they saw what Tampa Bay did to get to the Super Bowl and then win the Super Bowl. There's a lot of pass rush involved in that, so I think they've addressed quite a big weakness. I think it all comes down to Josh Allen. I mean, is he going to have the season that he had last year? There's some advanced statistics to say that he got quite fortunate last year. I don't know how much I believe those, because he looked pretty exceptional. So it's going to be interesting, but I would put the Bills down for a win, just because of the strength of their side and how settled they are.
A loss for the Jets, right?
Loss for the Jets.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that as well. I think that even with the extra time, I think the Bills are going to be the top team in the division right now. We're a few years behind on the rebuild from where they are. They're at kind of at the point where you want to get to in terms of as a championship contender, right? So that's going to be a tough one. I think we'll pick up a loss there, so that puts us at 3-6. Going into hosting the Dolphins the next week. I think we can split the Dolphins. I think that I think we can take them at home. Even though I think they're an overall good team, I think that the offense with Tua won't be as explosive as, say, other teams. I think we'll be a pretty good job. I don't think the line is that particularly great, even though it's not too bad. And I think our line could do some damage against them. And I think that at this point, I see a little mini run going on here. We've got the Dolphins at home, then we're away to the Texans, and we presume that'll be without Deshaun Watson, and then the Eagles at home. And I think we win all three of these games. That's my prediction. So that would put us back to 6-6, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I think I do agree with you there. I think Miami are a better team than they were last year. It like it always does in the NFL, it will come down to Tua and the quarterback position and how good he looks this year in comparison to last year. Yeah. Obviously, they picked up Jalen Waddle in the draft, which is going to help Tua. Having a guy like that is going to help any quarterback. They picked up Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame as well for an offensive tackle, so trying to improve the line, give him a little bit more protection. They picked up Hunter Long from Boston College, so again, a tight end who's going to be difficult to cover. So I think they're a good team, and I think when we get to the away game, I think they will take the away game, but I think we can split with them as well. So I think, for brevity, I think I agree with you that Miami, Houston, Philadelphia is our opportunity to kind of get back to 500. So I'd put us down for wins in all three of those games as well. 2 at home, just the one in Houston. I don't love Houston's team. I don't think they've improved.
I think they're one of the worst teams potentially. Like, they've got solid players, but I don't think they're going to be able. They've got nothing there that impresses me. I don't think they're going to be very good. And without Deshaun Watson, which we presume he'll be on the exempt list or something of the like, I don't think that they're going to be very good. And I think we could probably beat them even in Houston. So I think. And then with Philly, there's just another team who are kind of rebuilding after the Wentz has left now with a kind of new rookie head coach. They've got, obviously, I like, obviously, Devonta Smith is a good player, but I think overall, I think we've also brought in a lot of good players as well. You think of, what we're exciting about these wide receivers. I think we got to really kind of think about, pragmatically, but optimistically, we look at the quality we have on our team now is pretty good, especially at the wide receiver unit. So I think we could put up points, maybe not against in a shootout, but I think someone against Philly, I think we could probably do a good job, especially with them at home. So that's 3 wins there on the bounce. That puts us at 6-6 going, hosting the Saints on December 12th. What's your thoughts about the Saints without Drew Brees now?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. They lost, obviously, Trey Hendrickson as well. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what I think they're quite a big unknown this year. I think, it's the first time in so long that we're going to have to deal with the Saints, and they're not going to have Drew Brees. And Drew Brees is one of those characters who can get you back in any contest. So that's going to be a really, really interesting kind of development in terms of who they have starting at quarterback, which I imagine is going to be Jameis Winston. Obviously, they took Ian Book from Notre Dame as well, so I can't see him starting straight away.
No.
But they've got the skill position players, and that's where they're always going to be dominant. They've got Michael Thomas, and they've got Alvin Kamara, so they've got, they've got weapons, but they're also susceptible as well on the defensive side of the ball. So now they have lost.
They lost a lot of people, right? Because they had to shave from the cap. They had to shave a lot of people as well. Then their first round pick was Peyton Turner. It was an interesting one. Everyone thought they maybe go with Elijah Moore because if you look at their wide receiver depth up behind Michael Thomas, it isn't fantastic actually. And it's crazy. You think, oh wow, Saints offense, stuff like that. You look at the wide receiver unit, it's not actually that deep. When you look compared to ours, it's like, okay, we may not have a Michael Thomas, but the depth we have is pretty. It kind of, this is the kind of example. However, some teams have like that number one guy, but then after that kind of falls off. We have maybe not the top guy, but our depth is really, really good. And I think we could with us hosting them, and if it's Jameis or someone else, I don't see why we couldn't challenge them in a game. I think it could go either way. So how are you feeling before I give my answer? What's your thoughts about the Saints one? It is one of those really toss of the coins because you just know what the Saints are going to be like when you get to week 14, right?
I'm using the back end of the schedule and looking at where I would predict us at the back end because I've kind of got us at close to 500. So I'm going to say we're going to beat the Saints. With it being at home, I think that we can get to 7-6 in that game.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
So because the next one up is Miami in week 15, and that's at Miami.
And we talked about Miami, and it's a loss, right? So that puts us at 7-7, and then we host the Jags on Boxing Day, like we talked about. I think we win that one. I think we're a better team than they are. I think we did more to improve us. Obviously, we're the worst two teams in the league, but I think we've improved ourselves way more. I think our coaching, the quality of coaching that we've undertaken compared to what we had, I think it was specifically because of how bad Gase was. But the step up, I think, in coaching is even bigger in terms of how good the coaching jump has been potentially. In terms of obviously we have to see what we are, what Salah's like as a head coach. But that's, as I look at it now, that's what I think. And the talent as well, right? I think we did a better draft. I think we had a better free agency period in terms of hitting those really top, improving ourselves in each position rather than just bringing loads of bodies in, which they did in free agency. So I think that we get this one with the Jags, especially with them at home. That's really the key thing, is them coming to us on Boxing Day, up to New York. I think we get this win. Do you agree with that one?
Yeah, 100%. I think I kind of agree with everything you just said. I think the coaching staff is quite a big aspect of this. I don't really know what Urban Meyer's doing. Like I can't get their strategy down in terms of what they're actually looking for. Because they took Trevor Lawrence, which was the right pick, the only pick they could take, and they kind of took Travis Etienne. And I was kind of, Travis Etienne's a really good player, but they just had a guy in James Robinson who went for over 1,000 yards. Yeah. So.
If they had no running back, had no running back to speak of, and you go, you pair Etienne with Lawrence again, first round, what's the end of the first round? So, okay, we get it. But they had James Robinson's, you already had, a guy who showed everything you would want in a rookie running back, right? And to kind of bring in Etienne, you're like, this is, I saw rumors that they were going to pick him. I just couldn't believe it, because I just thought, well, where is your self-analysis of your squad? What are you doing? This is the kind of stuff this is why I've said that I don't know what's going to happen with Trevor in terms of hitting his ceiling, because location is everything, right? And I just see this team, and I see some of the things I see from them is similar to what I was seeing with us, or what bad teams do, right? Where you don't self-evaluate very well in terms of from season to season, and then you don't really fill in the holes, you don't really kind of fix the problems that you had from the previous year, and it kind of rolls on. And running back was not a problem for them. Their offense was terrible, but they had a top running back, from a rookie perspective, is everything you want. 1,400 yards last year. What else do you want from a rookie running back? And you put better players around him, why would he be any worse? So, yeah, I don't know what they're doing right now with Jacksonville. I think they're going to be easily planted in a losing record at that point. I think we're going to be still in contention to try and push for a playoff place at this point. So I mean, this is December football, right? And we're meaningful, right? As we go into this puts us at 8-7, which is obviously going to be in the mix for playoff football, which is incredible to talk about that in December, never mind November or October compared to last year, where it was basically the second week of the season, it was over. So we're getting a win. We're getting a win on this on Boxing Day from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely, especially at home as well.
Yeah. Then we host the champs, right? We host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we go from the worst team last year to the best team, hosting them back-to-back weeks. We are hosting them, and there's a narrative that they could have already clinched stuff. You know, people said against these two last teams, we've got Buccaneers, and then we are away to the Bills, which is always a dreadful thing to go away to the Bills on the last day of the season. We've done it a few times already. Most notably the 2015 season. So yeah, I think that we're probably going to lose these two games, but you know, it depends on what they may be resting players that could give us a shot potentially at sneaking into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think when I said we'd beat the Saints, I had these two down as a loss. I
Yeah,
think we will probably lose both the games unless they are completely clinched and we're fighting for something and they've got most of their backups out there, because Tampa Bay really haven't lost anyone. They just, maneuvered the cap so well to keep pretty much every single free agent they had.
yeah,
Everyone was like, oh, Tampa Bay, they're right up against the cap, so they won't be able to keep all the players and they'll have to choose. And that just never happened because they've just got really creative with the cap, and all of a sudden their championship team is back. Bruce Arians is one of my favourite coaches in the league. I've said, I don't like Tom Brady, but I like Bruce Arians. I'm glad he won the championship last year, and I'm putting this down as a loss, and I think I'd put the Bills down as a loss as well, just because they could still be fighting. That they're not so good in that I think they're going to run away with things. So I don't think they're going to be 14 wins or 15 win team. I think they still may be fighting towards the end of the season. So I'm putting both of these down as a loss, which I think just sets us at just under 500. Which
8 and 9, right?
8 and 9 from a 2-win team. I think that's reasonable with what we've done.
Yeah, I and if we put up some fun games, and Zach shows to have a promising rookie year, where his touchdown interception ratio isn't too bad. Something in the 20 plus, and keep interceptions below 12 maybe. That would be a really bonus, right? And I think there's a lot of positives you can take from that and build on that, but you can see it flip into like a 9 and 8, and we sneak in if say the Bills are resting, if they are clinched it in week 17, and in week 18 they clinched. So we will see. We know they did it, right? They did it last year, and it served them okay to rest the players, right? They made it through. Am I right? Yeah, they didn't mess up, did they? No. So
No,
they did rest their players last year. Was it last year or the year before? I'm trying to remember now. That we faced them. We faced them with it was the year before, isn't it? It was the Barkley year.
I can't remember that. Yeah.
It was the year before because it was the one that gave us the 6-2 finish to Gase and the hope that we could do, and it was because it was Matt Barkley, right, and that unit. So
probably cost us more that win than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how we go. I think we're better placed to take advantage of kind of teams that are maybe resting. Maybe we can pick up a late win there, and push on and sneak into the playoffs. But I think around that 500 mark is where we're going to be, and I think that would be a massive improvement. And to get those wins, there have to be some amount of hope in there. You really would hope, that the offense looks exciting, the defense looks, incomplete, but has some moments that it can dominate on the line, and maybe, obviously, I think the Achilles heel will be the defensive backs, but we'll see about that. But overall, I like this. I like the schedule. I think it's very doable for us to get to. I don't think we've been overly, positive, optimistic. I think it's quite realistic what we've mapped out. And so, I think what we'll do now is we'll head over to our mailbag. Okay, so for this week, we will do a couple of questions from a mailbag. If we don't answer you, we'll put them back into the bag, and we'll make sure that we answer them in the next couple of weeks' shows. Probably next week, we'll definitely get to them. There were some really good questions there. So we'll start with Idris' question. Idris' question is, as it's a quiet period, who are your favourite non-QB, non-Jet players? And he says, his are Julio Jones and Trent Williams. So who are yours? Who are you that stand out for you, David?
So I've got a couple guys that I just like watching.
Yeah.
Quinton Nelson is probably my favourite non-Jets player in the league.
Of course, it'll be an O-line.
Offensive guard for the Colts.
Yeah.
I watched a ton of him in college because I do watch quite a lot of Notre Dame games, and I just love it. He's just so complete as a player, and he's just a really fun guy to watch. And I know, standard you don't really watch the offensive linemen that closely because they're not that splashy, but he finishes pretty much every single play. And he's so dominant. He's so athletic. He's huge as well. I mean, 6'5" and 330 pounds. So he's a big unit. But if you got the chance to actually watch his, there's a YouTube kind of like NFL breakdown with Quinton Nelson on offensive guard play. If you get a chance, go and watch that because that's a really entertaining, and he comes across as such a fun guy.
Is that the guy? Is that the same thing that did Jamal Adams did for his position thing? Was that with
yeah,
Balding?
They do a lot of position breakdowns.
With Balding, or was it?
Yeah. And he's a New Jersey guy as well. So Quinton Nelson, he grew up in New Jersey, so a little bit of local connection in terms of Jets and Jersey. So I don't know if he supported the Jets growing up. Actually, I've never actually researched that. I might actually go away and have a look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Quinton Nelson's one of the guys. I love Julio Jones as well. And Calvin Ridley I really like as well. I really like watching Calvin Ridley play. George Kittle's another guy that I really like.
Right? We'll get to see them in London.
Get to see those in London. George Kittle's a guy that I really like.
He's great.
There's so many good prospects I really like watching across the league, but Quinton Nelson. If you said to me who is your favourite non-Jets player in the entire football league, I'd say Quinton Nelson 100%. How about you?
The same question. If I had to pick one, it would be Alvin Kamara. I just loved his running style. I love the quick cuts. I mean, there was just I don't know if it was a few years ago. I was watching a game with a mate who's not really into NFL, and I was telling him, who should I look out for? I said, look at this guy. And then literally the moment I said it, I was talking about this guy, and literally in one run, it was one of these great runs where he was cut and then ran and then leaped over someone, and this guy was like, "Wow, you literally just queued him up almost like it was some sort of movie. Like, watch this guy, what's he's going to do?" So no, but I love Alvin Kamara since he's come into the league. I just love his running style. He's got power. It's kind of deceptive power. You think of him as a speed guy, but he's got actually quite a lot of power as well. But yeah, just those jump cuts and change of pace, and he can just jump to the side and bolt off still. It's just I love watching him as well. And then Aaron Donald, right, is just a guy who's he just dominates every single play. You just can't miss him, but it's just so much fun to see what he does to other massive humans and just makes them look absolutely silly. His technique and power combination is just incredible. So I think those two are the guys, and to see Quinton kind of show signs of being not at that level, but kind of being in that kind of up there in that level. It's very exciting. In the upper echelon, it's very exciting to see someone kind of showing some of those tendencies on your own team. So I'm super excited for Quinton. Next question is who starts at right guard? What's your prediction? Who starts at right guard? And do you think whoever it is will be able to hold their own? That's from Kieran O'Brien.
Yeah, good question. My instinct says that Van Roten will probably start at right guard. I don't think he'll maybe finish at right guard. I really do like Tristan Hodge. A really big fan of his. I've watched quite a lot. I wrote a feature for Gangrene Nation on Hodge, and so I watched quite a lot of his tape. And he's a really good prospect. Like, one of the negatives I kept reading, because I read the reports before I watched, and they kept saying, "Oh, he hasn't got much athleticism. He hasn't got much athleticism." And I kind of turned it on, and I was kind of, I don't know where that's come from. I mean, he's not the most athletic guy you're ever going to see, but I wouldn't put it down as a negative on him. Obviously he bounced from Notre Dame to BYU, so he worked in that outside zone with Zach Wilson. So he's familiar with the schemes that we're going to run to an extent. Obviously, they probably didn't have as much verbiage or play action or whatever they did at BYU. They didn't have as much as we'll have.
Yeah.
But he's just one of those guys I think can develop. He'll stick on. I'm hoping he'll stick on the 53-man roster, and then, even if it's 12, 13 weeks into the season and we're starting to think, all right, Van Roten's not going to be here next year, let's give someone a go. Tristan Hodge is a guy that I would definitely watch for.
There's the mystery guy, though, right? There's the mystery guy that could be there. Cameron Clark, right?
Yeah, I just haven't seen enough of Cameron Clark.
That's the problem, right? It's like he's the mystery guy. I think a lot of us were quite excited for what he potentially could do when he came in. and we just never got to see any of him. Obviously,
Yeah.
with no preseason last year, and then he was just kind of tucked away really, and so we just don't know what we have in him. But he's a person who could come in, and if he's anywhere what we hoped he would be, or at least he could be a real person who could come in and take over for GVR. Through the season as well. Even though I do like Tristan Hodge as well, I do like him to come on as the roster as a kind of rotational guy who can kind of play on the line as a bit of depth. So
I think that says everything. Where we know probably more about an undrafted free agent we've just signed than we do about a prospect we drafted and he's been in the system or not in the system but in the organisation for a year. Because I really don't know. I've forgotten what I looked at with Cameron Clark last year. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait for the preseason just to see him play football because
exactly.
I'm sure he's excited as well.
That's the thing is like the preseason. You go, oh, it's just we'll get past it. And obviously last year we had to. There was no option, right? You had to find the best way to get through the season. But it is going to be very exciting, especially diving into doing this podcast now with you and diving into these guys in much more depth than I would before. And as much as you do for your writing, so it's going to be a lot of fun watching these guys at the kind of back end of the roster fight for these places in the preseason games. It's going to really increase my interest in the preseason games. So for sure, and I hope, like I said, listening to the show it helps everyone else kind of appreciate these guys who have some talent and who can make it. And we've got a good, we have got a good history of undrafted free agents, right? From Snacks to Robbie. Other people, so there's definitely
Brandon
a chance
Moore as well, especially on the offensive line. Yeah,
exactly. So, and obviously last year with Guidry and Bryce Huff did some decent stuff as well. And we've got and I think because of this year, some of these undrafted free agents we were talking about on WhatsApp, where we said, is it crazy that like 3 to 5 of them could make the roster, on week one? Like it's not really. You're talking about Yeboah, Hodge, Hamilcar, right? And then you took Isaiah Dunn, who got the largest ever, undrafted free agent cornerback deal ever, didn't he? So, like, it's interesting to see what we'll do with this team, and do they really want to wash out all those old players who are there and just bring in the young players who will fit their style and their schemes? So interesting.
I think I can kind of convince myself on all of these undrafted free agents. I wrote something on Parker Ferguson this morning. I was researching Parker Ferguson, who. Over his career at Air Force, they average under 10 passing attempts per game because they're just a triple option run offense. That's what they've been for, they've had the same head coach for like 12, 13 years.
Right, yeah.
And I was just kind of watching some of his stuff. I was kind of like, but they do run quite a lot of zone play. They do run outside quite a lot. I was kind of like, maybe Parker Ferguson is a guy that's going to stick on this team.
I just think you just root for the underdog. You really do. Like,
I do. I think isn't that the British way though? That's the British way. Isn't
I think it is, and I think it's. You
haven't mentioned the kicker either.
Of course, and he's the other one who can make it because obviously there isn't anything much there. As Chris Nagar, is it? Nagar? I don't know what's the pronunciation.
He did tweet about it, didn't he? About how to pronounce it, and I can't remember what it was. I think it's Nugar.
Well, now we just know him as the guy. Yeah, he's the guy who took number 1 now, right? So, and Mackay's looking.
Mackay.
Yeah, Mackay wants. He's going for number 1. When Zach didn't take it, he's like, I can get it. And now, you casually reminded him through the Gangrene account that the kicker's got it, and he was like, oh no, and he kind of just backed away quietly from it. Like he's a gentle giant, that kid.
Did you see all the comments below it though? It was always like, yeah, but you're bigger than him. Just take
it. Yeah, just take it. Yeah, it's like some free agent kicker. Just take it off him, But yeah, this free agent class is actually quite interesting, and it'll be interesting to see these guys in preseason for sure. We'll wrap up this question. From Fergus, does the offense become more run heavy due to the scheme, or is it to protect or to protect Wilson? With him being a rookie QB.
Yeah, probably a bit of both. I think it will be more run heavy, just because that's the way the system operates. It's what makes the play action pass such a dominant force in this system, is that you can run the ball successful. And I think now we've kind of got. We've got Tevin Coleman in, and we've got a few guys who can run the football, and we're really dedicating some resources to that offensive line. I mean, Vera Tucker's a fantastic run blocker. With that outside zone, I think we will run the ball more. I guess the benefit is that we've got a quarterback who can stretch the field when we need to. So the defenses are going to have to kind of look for that. They're going to have to defend that deep pass. It's not as though we haven't got a quarterback who can stretch the field and they can cheat up a little bit. But I think we will see more running plays, but I think it will be quite a balanced offense as well.
Yeah.
I think there'll be plenty of passes in there because as good as we are, we probably will find ourselves down on certain occasions, and we do have to pass to get ourselves back in the game.
Yeah.
But there'll be those horizontal passes. There'll be those kind of slants and drags and everything across the middle of the field and get people. I mean, that's the system, isn't it? That Mike LaFleur always said, or Shanahan always said, was the whole principle is that you get people in space, and so the defense has to defend every single blade of grass. That's what the system's all about.
Yeah. It is, yeah.
So I think, I mean, what do you think? You think we're going to run the ball a little bit more this year?
I think it's just going to be a bit of a different running game. I think it'll be more of a diverse one. Obviously, we're not just going to be stuffing Frank Gore, down the A gap, up the middle on 2nd and 10. Just to get past that would be an absolute delight. So I'm looking forward to not having to deal with that kind of nonsense. Hopefully, a little bit more diversity with our play calling. But no, I think the biggest thing is going to be obviously the rotation of the backs. I don't think there's going to be any particularly lead back. I think it's going to be a true split to really keep everyone as fresh legs as possible throughout the games and throughout the season. So, but I think obviously we're going to play off that, and I do think it will be a pretty balanced offense as well. I think maybe slightly more run heavy, just to kind of take the pressure off Zach and with this, with the players, and keep, like I said, keep those guys fresh, keep those guys rolling, and you kind of they're interchangeable in terms of what they need to do for their roles. So I think,
and I'm excited to see Michael Carr. Michael Carr is going to be really interesting to watch this year.
You have moments where you forget we have certain players coming in, you go, wow, that guy's going to be fun. Oh, that guy's going to be fun. And then last night I was looking at, I was going through the pictures through a thing I was doing for the podcast, and I saw Denzel Mims. I was like, yeah, of course, Denzel. Like you forget because you think of Elijah Moore and you think of Michael Carr and Corey Davis as the new guy, but Denzel Mims is a very exciting prospect that we never really got to see the most of. So very, very exciting.
He was missed on a lot of deep balls last year as well. Like, if you watch the tape, watch the All-22 tape, he got open deep a fair few times, and Sam just did not look at him or missed him or didn't have the confidence to force it deep. And I don't think Wilson's going to suffer from a lack of confidence.
I think that Wilson's going to be saved quite a few times by Mims and Davis's ability to win the jump ball. Sorry, that you couldn't, that normally would think 50-50 it could be intercepted. They're going to save him a few times, but to have those two guys there, and the guy who's not going to be afraid to get it down them, it could be really exciting times when you think of the other weapons we have as well. So again, we're just riding off this real big optimism right now. It's really, really good times. Gus, Liam, those are the two questions that we didn't get to. They were a little bit longer ones, and I think we want to really dive into them. They're really good questions, so just listen to the next one. We'll definitely get them in very soon. But I think we'll wrap up the show for this week because we've gone a bit long with the schedule talk. So, David, anything you want to pass on to the guys before we head off for the week?
No, just thanks for listening as always, and obviously if you've got anything that you want us to talk about, if you want us to deep dive on any of the draft prospects, if you want us to look at the undrafted class, or the free agents, we're here to really talk about what you guys want to hear. So drop us a comment on Twitter or in the review section or wherever it is. Get in contact with me and Andres on our personals, whatever. Just let us know what you want us to talk about.
Absolutely. This is the period where it really is your show, right? Before we get to the madness that is, training camp leading into the season and onwards, this is the time when obviously there's more time, more space to talk about these things, especially now with the schedule release out of the way. So definitely hit us up with any questions, hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram at Jets UK Pod. And just let us know what you want in the show, and what, this is your show as much as ours. It's our community. And we want it to be, you guys to take ownership for sure. So for this week, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.